Good day, everybody. This is Yin Yang in California with morsels of thought number 1527. It is 5:10 a.m. in San Francisco, where I am broadcasting from. It is California time, Pacific Standard Time right now. We are not yet in daylight saving time until, is it just next weekend? Wait a minute. Today is the last day of Pacific Standard Time. Tomorrow is daylight saving time. It's tonight that we switch over and give our hour away so that we can have earlier sunrise and sunsets, just earlier. It's not more, it's just earlier. So it's sunrise and then it sunsets an hour earlier. So now that we spring forward, jump back, spring forward. So we spring forward tonight, and it will become so that we are broadcasting at 4:10 and calling it 5:10. So it seems like we're getting daylight earlier. Seemed like it. We're not, but we are, and we are taking it earlier and sleeping earlier. So supposedly we're getting more things done. I want us to choose one goddamn check mark time zone. Just one. Stop switching back and forth. My heart can't take it. Anyway, this is 1527, and today is International Women's Day. Guess what? We finally started catching up with parts of the world that have been celebrating International Women's Day for decades and decades, about a century, almost a century. It started in Russia, I think, and then they've been doing it in China since I started visiting China about 25 years ago. I visited like 8 or 9 times, and they were celebrating it every year. And I'm like, what's that? How come they call it international? We don't have it. And then now finally we've got it. So today, 3-8. 3-8 are auspicious numbers in the Chinese numerology. 3-8. So today is March 8th. It happens to be a Saturday, so I get to go to this party that's in San Francisco. And lucky me, you can't come unless you're here. Please come, call me, and we can go together. And oh yeah, good morning, AC Rusita here in San Francisco today, I think, right? And then good morning, John Clark and family, and Tom Krebs and Nancy Miller. I also want to say Nancy Pelosi, but I don't know if she comes and watches me. And then, who else is there? Colleen Dracos, Gina Putoff, and Marty Blue, and Elizabeth Ann. Hey, Liz. I love you, Liz. You were so funny to change your name, and then we all didn't know who you were. Seemed like you were really familiar with all of us, but we didn't know. Welcome. Listen, Learn, Love by Susie Albert Miller. How to dramatically improve your relationships in 30 days or less. Forward by Beth and Jeff McCord, Publishers Weekly best-selling authors of Becoming Us. This book is titled Listen, Learn, Love, How to Dramatically Improve Your Relationships in 30 Days or Less by Susie Albert Miller. And I'm going to be reading from page 92. Short-term sacrifice for long-term gain. Tip number 2. Sacrifice by definition means putting someone else's needs, wants, and desires above our own. It means we are willing to take the blame, be misunderstood, judged, inconvenienced, disappointed, and or bear another's burden. Oh man, can you imagine all those faithful people who take somebody else's wrath in jail? Well, that's what's called sacrifice, man. Sacrifice. That is sacrifice. Now, I don't know, but I don't like that kind of sacrifice. I like sacrifice in a loving relationship where you kind of know that the other person is doing it for you too. In the movie Stepmom, Jackie, a divorced mom, is put in a difficult position when her ex-husband Luke asks her to help break the news to their kids that he is getting remarried. The conversation promises to be difficult because their daughter Anna dislikes his fiancée Isabel, and both she and her brother Ben still hold out hope that their parents will reunite. Isabel is struggling to connect with the kids, and marrying their dad will make that even harder. Luke not only enlists Jackie's help to tell the kids, he also asked her to help make the transition easier. Jackie has no reason to agree. She is justifiably angry as the dutiful wife whose ex-husband is now marrying a younger woman. However, for the sake of Anna and Ben, Jackie agrees to help Luke. Upon hearing the engagement announcement, Anna and Ben are fuming, disappointed, and hurt. Jackie takes their hands, calms their fears, makes positive comments about Isabel, that must have been hard, and reasons this marriage will benefit the kids. Jackie loves well. Loves well. Listen, learn, love. Listen, learn them, love well. Loving well is challenging, especially when it is costly. Making the choice to love well is even more fulfilling and meaningful in these moments. My husband John dreamed of being a millionaire by age 30. This was not a pipe dream as he was raised in an entrepreneurial family, started his own business at age 19, and was following in the footsteps of his already successful older brother. I remember our conversation a few weeks after John's 30th birthday. He was struggling because he had not achieved his entrepreneurial dream. I listened and reminded him of the reasons his dream was delayed. When our kids were young, John chose to be an involved dad. He delighted in our kids and enjoyed spending time with them. When they started playing sports, he decided to be actively involved in coaching them as well. Parenting well requires time and energy. Coaching also involves a significant time commitment. John sacrificed part of his entrepreneurial dream to invest in our kids. He willingly gave up one dream to fulfill another, to be an engaged dad and build strong relationships with his kids. The reward he enjoys today is far more valuable than money or status. He created a unique and amazing relationship with each of our children, which continued as they became adults. John made sacrifices and difficult choices as an entrepreneur, but he truly believes that he chose the deeper yes. Quote, end quote, the deeper yes. Choosing to love well can dramatically improve your relationships. Think about a time when you were on the receiving end of someone sacrificing for your benefit. How did it feel? Pretty amazing, huh? A remarkable thing about the skill love well is that we get these same awesome feelings when we choose to love well or sacrifice for another. Remember, your sacrifice isn't in vain, even if it goes unrecognized or appreciated. Again, look at any mother and ask her if she keeps a tally sheet of all she does. Loving well requires. Just this morning, I had a lot of thoughts about my mother, who sacrificed quite a bit. Again, look at any mother and ask her if she keeps a tally sheet of all she does. Loving well requires us to give without strings. Sorry. Loving well requires us to give without strings and not keep score or expect payment in return. Ernest Hemingway said something. He said, "When you love, you wish to do things for, you wish to sacrifice for, you wish to serve." Skill number 3. Love well is not often our first instinct, as the world warns us to look out for number 1 and protect ourselves from being taken advantage of and cautions against being a doormat. Conversely, loving well sacrifices and gives for the benefit of others, embracing an abundance mentality, knowing that in giving we receive. In blessing others, we are blessed. Loving well believes generosity and sacrifice have their own rewards. My mother passed a long time ago, but I didn't have the thoughts until this morning about some of her sacrifices. So that's how come this is hitting me so hard. My mother got married to a man who, I'll stop here for this. We're on page 95. My mother got married to a man who committed a crime against humanity, which is called a forced pregnancy. It's called a crime against humanity, force of pregnancy, because when you force somebody to bear your child, you're forcing them to be committed to you for the rest of her life. She has to be connected to you. You're her enemy, but she has to be connected to you to have you help support her child that she gave birth to, which is her own as well as yours when you're her enemy. And she did that. And I think she did that partly so that she could feed me, who I was the older child. So that was part of my story. And this morning, I almost broke down thinking about it. And I realized that as she stood at the stove, tasting the food that she had just sauteed to make sure it tasted right, she was probably thinking, "I'm married to this horrible guy, but at least my daughter gets to eat." So that's what I thought this morning. Oh, sorry, I'm smeared all over this. Driven by our commitments. Okay, stop it now. Okay, we're good. Driven by our commitments. Tip number 3, loving well is based on commitment, not emotions. Sometimes we won't feel like being sacrificial. Like, God damn it, no. Sometimes we won't feel like being sacrificial. It is hard, uncomfortable, and simply not what we want to do sometimes. Loving well does not require us to feel like it, quote, end quote, but rather to make a conscious choice to act according to our commitments and not be governed by our emotions. Loving well means choosing to do it anyway. For example, there are days when we don't always feel like working on our business, making the next sales call, pushing through rejection, or getting up early for massive action. But successful entrepreneurs and business executives do it anyway. They work from their commitments, not their emotions. As parents, we are rarely eager to leave our warm beds to get our kids ready for school, give them a nutritious breakfast, and pack lunches to save money for the family vacation, but we do it anyway. On evenings when we are dog tired, the last thing we have energy for is a long conversation with our teenager who had a hard day at school. But we patiently listen, validating and clarifying with toothpicks holding our eyes open. Sometimes we sometimes we are angry and frustrated, and instead of being understanding, we want to snap at our spouse and tell them exactly how we think they should handle a sticky situation at work. Instead, we remember our commitment to allow them to, quote, just vent, end quote. So we bite our tongue and patiently listen as they recount a frustrating or challenging work issue. Maybe a friend requested your help building her account holding. Maybe a friend. Hold on a second. Something's going on here. There's a lot of just maybe a friend requested your help holding her accountable in an area in which she wanted to grow and change. Boundaries, diet, exercise, time management. She is frustrated, discouraged, and compromised her plan, but saying something is harder than pretending not to notice. Besides, you don't want to make her mad and add to her struggles. Loving well in this case means braving the hard conversation. In each of these situations, we can choose to love well by acting from our commitments, not from our emotions. I know this is hard to do. We are emotionally driven beings, and it takes practice and discipline to manage our emotional response and choose to act from our decisions made in rational moments. We cannot control how we feel, but we can control what we do with our feelings. Sacrifice and putting the needs of others first is easier when we are, quote, feeling it, end quote. However, we can choose to intentionally engage for another's benefit, especially when we are dog tired, inconvenienced, uncomfortable, or just plain uninterested. In these moments, when we put our emotions aside and honor our relational commitments, we are loving well. Here's an example. My client Walter was a stressed out, time constrained, successful C-level executive who needed more hours in every day. With 4 kids, he had attended countless band concerts, baseball games, ballets, and school assemblies through the years. He shared honestly that he didn't want to attend these anymore. It felt like a waste of his time, especially since they started to sound and look the same, except for the people involved. When his third child, Jake, was the one up at bat on stage, getting an award or warming the bench, Walter's presence mattered, especially to his son. Loving well meant Walter set an alarm on his phone, promptly left work, breezing by, and disappointing the colleagues who followed him down the hall, saying, "This will just take a minute," grabbed a quick dinner, and trekked to Jake's school or activity, choosing to be present and engaged even when it was the last thing he preferred to do with his evening. Love well in business. I mentioned earlier that the skill love well might seem like an unusual term to use in the business world. However, I believe it's totally applicable. I am convinced more businesses, salespeople, and executives would enjoy greater success if they intentionally employed listen, learn, love in their professional relationships. Your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. Bob Berg, B-U-R-G. Are you wondering what exactly Love Well would look like applied to the business and entrepreneurial world or in relationships with clients and customers? A great place to start is with the book The Go-Giver, a little story about a powerful business idea by Bob Berg and John David Mann, M-A-N-N, which focuses on giving a mindset specifically applied to the workplace. It is a great story about an ambitious businessman named Joe who learns how changing his focus from getting to giving and putting the interests of others before his own ultimately leads to unexpected rewards. If you want to practice love well in your professional relationships, keep the following questions at the forefront of all your interactions. How can I give to the other person in this relationship? How can I add value to my client, my customer, and my colleague rather than have a quid pro quo attitude? How can I show appreciation and gratitude for my client, colleague, or customer? Using love well in business may mean telling a client you are not the best one to meet their needs and referring them to a competitor. Do you think this client will ever forget that you put their interests above your profit? Can you imagine how they will tell the story to their friends? You can't pay for that kind of goodwill and word of mouth advertising. Like, for example, when I was going somewhere and the hotel manager called me and said, "Oh, we have a storm, you can't come." And they didn't make me come, during the storm. So that was good. And so I'll remember that. You may advise a new client to choose a lower priced package of your product or service because it's a better match for their budget, even though you're trying to meet a sales goal. You gain their trust by demonstrating you have their best interests at heart. Trust and integrity are invaluable commodities in business. Choosing to love well at work may mean engaging in a hard conversation with an employee or coworker about a problem or unsatisfactory work because a good team environment and greater productivity are more important than our discomfort with difficult discussions. With my coaching and consulting clients, love well sometimes looks like tough love, quote unquote, or saying hard things, rather than easy and more palatable ones. Do my clients respond with thanks for saying that? Rarely, but they know I am for them and willing to incur their anger or handle their pushback for the purpose of their growth. This builds trust and deepens our connection. Can you see how love well is an essential skill to succeed in your professional relationships? So, listen, learn, love. How to dramatically improve your relationships in 30 days or less. We're on page 99. Susie Albert Miller. Forward by Ben and Jeff McCord, publishers, weekly best-selling authors of Becoming Us. Does your relationship feel stagnant? Do you want to make it better? Even if you are at your wit's end and are ready to throw in the towel, you can make improvements quickly. It is absolutely possible to get unstuck in your relationships. That's from the back cover. Okay, so I will talk to you again later. Hope you are well. My morsels of a thought of wisdom are here for you to have a great day. Knowing the right thing to do is called wisdom, and the actual doing of it is called virtue, as the old fortune cookie says. And so I want to make sure that we impart some good wisdom and that we inspire people to have a great day, even when they see things that are not the best in the world. So I hope you have a great day. Okay? Old Kinderhook. Bye. I get that W